Come on in to Margaret McSweeney's Kitchen for Kitchen Chat, where every week you'll meet chefs, cookbook authors, foodies, gourmets, and just plain people who love to eat. And along with laughter, chat, recipes, and stories about food, you'll sometimes also hear words of inspiration, love, and hope. As Margaret always says, Kitchen Chat is food for the senses and food for the soul. So grab a cup of coffee, put your feet up on a comfy chair, and get ready to spend a little time with Margaret and her friends.
Hello, dear foodie friends, and welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is your co-host and founder, Margaret McSweeney, here with one of my very favorite foodie friends, Chef Katie Chen.
Hello.
Oh, and we're here to celebrate her new cookbook. Congratulations. Global Family Cookbook. Can you share with us all the inspiration, all of the insight?
Well, thank you, Margaret, and back at you. But one of the most favorite parts of this book is the fact that Margaret wrote the foreword. Margaret wrote the foreword for my book, which I'm so honored by, for sure. So I was inspired to write this book because I have 13-year-old twins. And ever since they were really little, they love exploring every cuisine under the sun. And I feel like today, because people have been privy to international travel, our kids are growing up watching the Food Network, Top Chef. We have all these little kids doing TikTok videos, making food, right? That people's palates have really been expanded over the years. And I think that we go to restaurants now and you can find gochujang meatballs, or whereas in the past, going to Mini Mall, you just find pizza and donuts. Now you'll find empanadas and poke bars. So I think people really want a resource to learn how to make globally inspired dishes in their home kitchens using their own pots and pans, not requiring all these trips to an ethnic market. Besides, things are so accessible now. So many more ingredients are available either at stores or online resources. And let's face it, the global pantry is really the new norm, right?
It is. And I love here on Kitchen Chat, I've always said the kitchen is the heart of the home, but really the kitchen is the heart of the world, and food is the universal language. And you speak a lot of great food, a lot of great universal language.
You.
And before we dive into the cookbook, I love what you're doing with your daughter, instilling that legacy and love of cooking together, just like you cooked with your mom. Can you share with our foodie friends about that?
You guys, I have a live streaming show with my daughter, Becca, who's 13, every Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. But guess who our moderator is? Ms. Margaret McSweeney. So I'm so lucky because I get to see Margaret every Sunday. But what happened is during the pandemic, I couldn't cater, obviously, had to pivot, wanted to fill my time because I'm extremely get bored easily. So I turned to my daughter. We lived in our mountain home for 7 months. And I was like, hey, do you want to do a cooking show together? And she was like, okay. But I thought, first of all, what a great opportunity for my daughter and I to do something together that's creative. What a way to educate people on how to use leftovers during, the lockdown, because people didn't know what to do. Suddenly they're having to cook 3 meals a day, right? So let's make use of some of those leftovers and, go foraging in your pantry or your refrigerator. But also, let's just think of some creative things to do, because people that were learning how to cook for the first time felt empowered, but they were like, I keep making the same 3 things over and over and over again. Oh my gosh. And we just started having so much fun together, and then we got great reaction from the media, but also our fans, to the point where they've, come up with 2 hashtags, Becca Rocks, hashtag Becca Rocks, and hashtag the Nibbler, because she, keeps nibbling during the show. But I just love how all these people are watching Becca grow up. But my husband, because my mother and I had a show together on PBS years ago, and my mother would just basically correct me and criticize me because she was a tiger mom during all the episodes. And now that's what Becca does to me. Because she's, little and in charge. She's large and in charge, but she's a very type A. Like, I see her as a producer rather than, necessarily on-air personality, because she's just, did it wrong, Mommy. You had to turn the light on, Mommy. Don't forget to wish Margaret a happy birthday. Mommy, start the show. So I can't catch a break, obviously. But it's been really just a wonderful experience to do together.
Yes, and just the fact that you're passing this on to your daughter, just like your mom passed this on. Because you were on PBS, is that right?
Yes, we had a show together called Double Happiness on PBS, which was a cultural cooking show, mother-daughter cooking show. So it wasn't really, strategic in any way. It wasn't part of a master plan. It just felt like something fun to do. But for me, it's so fulfilling and heartwarming because my mother lives on through me cooking with my daughter.
Yes, and Foodie Friends, as you know, we have parallel stories. You're my sister at heart because she is honoring her late mother through her culinary journey, and I'm honoring my late father during my culinary journey. So I'm getting goosebumps. I just can't thank you enough for the honor of being able to write the foreword and the cookbook as we honor our Mom and Dad. So, so anyway.
We fell in love during our first phone conversation.
Yes.
And, I just feel so blessed and grateful for our friendship.
And same here. And a thank you to Robert Schuler of Melissa's Produce for introducing us many years ago. And we've had so many fun adventures together. But let's take a deep dive into this. I love some of the celebrities. By the way, if you're wondering what this is one from an event last night. Not only is Katie a prolific chef, cookbook author, but she's also the founder of Fortune Cookie Divas and did some delicious fortune cookies at an event. And my fortune cookie, I love it, my fortune is just be happy. It drives people crazy. So maybe someone needs to hear that out there today. But I love the different celebrities that you've met along the way or in here. Can you tell us about the format and the food?
Sure, absolutely. So we have over 170 globally inspired recipes, some traditional international dishes like arroz con pollo or bouillabaisse. But I also wanted to do some mashups and put, a global spin on some comfort foods like deviled eggs. So we have deviled eggs 4 different ways. One is a miso style. We have a Persian style. We have a Mexican style. But also roast chicken. Who doesn't love roast chicken? But, it can get a little boring if you keep having it all the time. So why not put a Peruvian spin on it or a Thai spin with a peanut sauce? Speaking of sauces, I was thinking of, the mother sauces, the traditional French mother sauces. I just thought, what? We should just rewrite this narrative about sauces and create global mother sauces. So there's a whole section on sauces with a gochujang sauce, because everybody loves that, right? Miso butter sauce.
And what is gochujang? And forgive me, I don't know
that. Gochujang is a traditional Korean red pepper sauce. I mean, it's a red pepper paste, but it's mixed with other ingredients. Okay. It's savory and it's smoky and it's sweet and it's so delicious. So I thought, why not create some sauces that you could use in so many different ways, from chimichurri to lemony pesto to the gochujang. So you can take that gochujang sauce and toss it with some cauliflower tempura if you wanted to, which you could also just take a scoop of it and add it to a stir fry. So we have the traditional chapters. We have small bites for parties. We have salads and soups. We have, chicken. We have meat. We have desserts and drinks and, everything you would want to make in your kitchen. But then also we do have 4 cultural celebrations in the book. So can I just show you?
Yes, please do.
Because, I'm a party animal. That's my husband. It drives him crazy. But I love celebrating. And I also think as we're coming out of the pandemic, what better way to celebrate than to embrace our cultural heritage, right? So we have Greek Easter with Debbie Matenopoulos and my BFF Covet by Christos. You might recognize him from Bravo. And Debbie contributed 4 of her delicious recipes from her book, It's All Greek to Me, and we become good friends. And obviously all our photo shoots turned into a crazy party.
And did they turn into karaoke? Because she's also the karaoke chef.
Yes, more or less, yes. Cinco de Mayo with Jeffrey Saad. He was on Food Network. He also had a show on Cooking Channel called United Tastes of America. and he had a Mexican restaurant. So this was a super fun party. Of course, it started raining in LA in August, which is insane. So I don't know, we had to like shoot in between the raindrops falling. So he contributed 4 of his delicious, look at those beautiful modern Mexican recipes. Oops, I skipped sorry. Yeah. Then we also have Lunar New Year with Jeannie Mai and her mom, the Mama Mai. So these are some traditional Lunar New Year recipes that my mother taught me, from pot stickers to long life noodles. But Mama Mai also contributed her fortune pork with eggs recipe, which she made with Jeannie on the reel. Let's not forget Hanukkah. So I'm in a blended family. We're raising our children Jewish. So I was so lucky to have Faye Levy, renowned Jewish food writer Faye Levy, contribute a bunch of her recipes, so yummy and delicious. And then Nate Burkus and Jeremiah Brent, also good friends. It's a whole long story, but I met Nate Burkus because of my mother, who worked with his mother in Minneapolis. But we happened to meet at a dinner party and stayed good friends. And because he told me my mother catered his bar mitzvah when he was 13 in Minneapolis, I thought, it was just a natural thing to have him in the Hanukkah section.
Oh, I
love
that.
Great. So I've just been, really lucky, met some really fun people along the way. And you know what? There's, so much strife in our world today. But the one thing we all have in common is food and eating.
Yes.
Right? We all have that in common.
And to come together around either the table, if you don't cook, or around the oven or stovetop, whatever you're making your dishes on. And this is such a great resource to foodie friends to encourage you to taste the world. That there's some great spices. What are some fun spices that everyone should have in their pantry?
Oh, well, some of the basic spices I like to have, of course, are cilantro, cumin. I love to have, this is a paste, but harissa paste. Have you ever had that?
I've had harissa, yes.
Yeah, so that's a great pantry item to have at all times because it's an African paste. It's smoky and it's sultry. And once again, like gochujang, why not add some really delicious, deep, exotic flavor to almost anything that, you want to make? Because you can really turn something as simple as, I'm going to boil some noodles. You could eat that maybe with some butter and cheese. But if you were to add a teaspoon of harissa paste, oh my gosh, like your mouth would come alive with flavor.
Wow. You elevate the dining experience and explore the taste of the world through that. And speaking of exploring the taste of the world, I think I shared with you, Chef Katie, about the amazing hug from heaven I got on Mother's Day weekend when my brother called me and he had found almost 200 recipes from around the world. So I can't wait to cook with you and share with our foodie friends some of these amazing recipes.
Well, he loved Asian recipes, right?
He did. Yes, he loved Asian cuisine, and I just can't wait. And I think this is just such a culmination of our culinary journeys for me to be able to cook from your cookbook and for you to help me decipher the recipes.
Well, I don't think we've actually ever cooked together, so I think this would be super fun. We should do a live stream where we cook together some of your dad's recipes.
We should. And from here too. We'll have to cook from here too.
Yeah.
Yes. That would be a lot of fun, and maybe do a little karaoke.
Oh, sing for your supper. Sing for your supper. Now, did you and your father cook together when you were younger?
My biggest regret. He was always trying to get me into the kitchen to cook, but I was just so busy, at that age, and friends and homework and extracurricular activities. I would do my homework at the kitchen table and watch him, and he would share a few different things, my taste memory, of course, from childhood is hollandaise sauce, and it was, is this featured? And that recipe.
And your sunset egg recipe.
Yes.
Margaret also contributed recipe.
My first and only recipe ever. I am not a recipe creator.
Oh, it was delicious. We tested it. It was so yummy.
Oh, thank you. But that was with Ann Willen's hollandaise sauce recipe. And thank you, Ann Willen, for letting me borrow that. And I just have these taste memories. And that's important, you know. So it's exciting to continue this journey of celebrating his legacy, celebrating your mother, celebrating just cooking with family and tasting the world. But in addition, I have to brag on you because in addition to being a prolific chef, cookbook author, caterer, you are also the regional ambassador for Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization. So can you tell us what's on the plate there and how everyone can celebrate as well?
Oh, thanks, Margaret. And so we're just so lucky that Margaret is the Chicago ambassador for Women's Entrepreneurship Day. But basically, this was a movement that was founded by my friend Wendy Diamond about 7 years ago. And the whole mission is to alleviate poverty among the 1 in 3 women living in destitution around the world, because we know that when women start their own businesses and become entrepreneurs, they give 90% of their income back to their families and the community, which lifts up the, the economy as a whole. And men don't tend to do that. So it just makes sense to invest in women. So it's been a really fulfilling journey. I do an event every year. We partnered with the mayor's office. We had 2,000 people attend last November virtually. And I've just been able to band together with these badass women in LA through this huge event, honor, local business women and hopefully inspire others. So we always try to, invite some up and comers too. We like to acknowledge and hear from the scrappy entrepreneur, because otherwise everyone's just sort of, listening to the choir, how does that expression go? The choir preaching.
Yeah. Preaching to the choir.
You know what I mean? Preaching to the choir. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so that's been extremely fulfilling. And also, as female chefs, we also have to really stick together.
Yes.
And lift each other up and support one another, because there's so few women in culinary arts, especially in leadership positions as executive chefs.
Yes.
Or even sous chefs. So it's a very male-dominated, sexist profession. So it's very important to lift each other up and support one another.
Yes, so support female chefs at your local restaurants as well. And speaking of entrepreneurs, do you have a very helpful tip for an aspiring entrepreneur out there, some words of encouragement? What would you say?
Ask for help. I think it's really important to not be afraid to ask for help. And what I've learned over the years, meeting all these incredible female entrepreneurs and venture capitalists and bankers and attorneys, all sort of in this space of female entrepreneurs. I've talked to some women extremely successful who've had extremely successful careers in a meeting with all men, asking for funding and being terrified because of the way they're being looked at, feeling like they're not being taken seriously. But, there's a lot of there are resources out there and other women who want to help. I love this quote. It is, for every successful female entrepreneur, there's 5 other female entrepreneurs who have her back. And I think it's so true, because I don't think men are really like that. Yeah. And I think, you have to take advantage of that. Of course, not all women are like that. There's a stereotype of, competitive or bitchy. But I find that for the most part, almost every woman I've encountered wants to help.
Yes.
With no strings attached.
Absolutely.
Expecting nothing back in return. So I think you can't be shy about that stuff.
No, I love that. Ask for help. And also that there's always enough room at the table for everyone. So support each other. For sure. And I love all that you're doing to support. So I always like to end Kitchen Chat with your top 3 tips for the home chef. So let's target this to, what is the best tip for making dumplings? 1, I love your technique. If you could just share with us that. And then any other special tip for home.
Great. Well, I feel like I've taught over 125 virtual classes since the pandemic started, most of which are dumplings. So hopefully I have some good tips. Oh my gosh. The tip I'd like to give for dumplings is it's okay to use store-bought wrappers, because a lot of people feel like, I don't know how to make that dough. I can't do it. The other thing is, it doesn't matter how they look, okay? It doesn't matter. They're going to taste delicious no matter what. So don't let that stop you from trying. Just try it, right? The other thing is, you just have to make sure your cooking technique is down, because the traditional pot sticker technique is pan frying, letting it brown, adding water, letting them steam off. So some of my friends that have made the recipe, I think they get anxious and they take it out too fast. And they're like, well, it wasn't crispy. And I'm like, trust your instincts. Like, just trust yourself. Yes. Let that water boil up, and it's going to be delicious and so yummy.
And I loved that, what is it, pleat, that technique you were doing the other night, pleat and press?
It's pleat, fold, repeat. But you twist and you press. To make a pleat, you twist it like Martin, and my mother's good friend, and our good friend now too. You just twist it to make a pleat and fold it against the back. And also, if you don't want to take on those pleats, it doesn't matter. It's just aesthetic. It's not going to change the flavor. So don't let it stop you.
Great tip. And then any other quick tips for the home chef?
Yeah, I think, you just need some basic tools to cook well in your kitchen. One is a very sharp chef's knife. The sharper the knife, the safer the knife. People think, I'm scared of a sharp knife, but it's actually much safer. Okay, I would say invest in a really good sharp knife, also a cast iron pan. Mm-hmm. Cast iron is so great. You season it so it creates its own, nonstick finish, but it gets super hot and retains heat for a long time. So if you're going to sear a steak, do it on a cast iron pan, and you will look like a professional. For sure. And don't forget to season. Like, people are afraid to season with salt. Don't be afraid, because it's just going to enhance the flavor. You don't want to over season, but the worst thing is, like digging into some mashed potatoes and there's no flavor. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I think those are some really, key tips. And they're just cook with fresh food. You're going to have delicious meals if you focus on fresh, healthful ingredients.
Wonderful. And a lot of great ingredients, a lot of great recipes, wonderful stories. And thank you, Chef Katie, for being on Kitchen Chat today.
Oh, thank you so much, Margaret. And don't forget to catch both of us on Becca and Katie's cooking show every Sunday at 5 p.m.
Oh, always a delight. So, foodie friends, thank you for joining us today. I'll make sure that I have a link to Chef Katie's cookbook, along with a link to her fabulous new colanders and wooden spoons and all of those fun accessories. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day.
Thanks for joining Margaret for Kitchen Chat today. Margaret would be so excited for you to drop by and visit with her at kitchenchat.info, where you'll enjoy podcasts, blogs, recipes, tips from chefs, and even great giveaways. She invites you to share your recipes and kitchen stories too. As Margaret always says, savor the day.